Αλλάζουμε τώρα θέμα και περνάμε στο διεθνές επιχειρηματικό συνέδριο που διοργάνωσε το Great Britain Cyprus Business Association στις 10 Μαΐου. Το συνέδριο είχε τίτλο Cyprus An Attractive Investment Hub 2022 London, a Global Financial and Investment Center. Κύριος ομιλητής αυτού του μεγάλου συνεδρίου ήταν ο αναπληρωτής υπουργός έρευνας, καινοτομίας και ψηφιακής πολιτικής Κύριος Κυριάκος Κόκκινος, την ομιλία του οποίου παρουσιάσαμε σε προηγούμενο πρόγραμμά μας. Απόψε θα σας παρουσιάσουμε ένα άλλο μέρος αυτού του συνεδρίου που αφορά στην μεταφορά επιχείρησης στην Κύπρο με βάση το σχέδιο δράσης της κυβέρνησης της Κύπρου για το 2022. Κύριος ομιλητής σε αυτό το θέμα ήταν ο κύριος Φίλιππος Ραπτόπουλος, ο οποίος είναι προϊστάμενος φοροτεχνικών και νομικών υπηρεσιών της Κύπρου. Μετά το πέρας της ομιλίας του κύριου Ραπτόπουλου, ακολούθησε πάνελ όπου συμμετείχαν η κυρία Ναταλία Πετρίδη από την εταιρεία Κανάλης LLC, ο Γιώργος Αρβανίδης, συνεργάτης της Πελαγίας Χριστοδούλου Βραχάς LLC και της Εσμέ Πάλας, συνεργάτηδα της Μιχαήλ Κυπριανού &Co LLC. Συντονίτρια αυτού του πάνελ ήταν η Δήμητρα Κωνσταντίνου, συνεργάτης της Κανάλης LLC. Αυτό ήταν το πρώτο πάνελ από τα 5 σε σύνολο που παρουσιάστηκαν σε αυτό το μεγάλο επιχειρηματικό συνέδριο. Στο βίντεο που ακολουθεί θα παρακολουθήσουμε ένα μεγάλο απόσπασμα της παρουσίασης του κυρίου Ραπτόπουλου και στη συνέχεια τη συνομιλία που έγινε στο πάνελ.
So the panelists are Φίλιππος Ραπτόπουλος, who is head of tax and legal services at EY Cyprus, Natalie Petridis, who is a partner at Kinanis LLC, Γιώργος Αβραμίδης, who is a partner at Πελαγίας Χριστοδούλου Βράχας LLC, and Esme Pallas, who is a partner at Michael Kiprianou &Co LLC. And the moderator will be my co-presenter, Δήμητρα Κωνσταντίνου, who is a partner at Kinanis LLC.
Kalimera. Good morning. Excellent Minister. Savas, a big thank you for inviting us once more to this event and getting closer to our Cypriot friends. The Minister made a perfect introductory speech which is giving the reason why I will talk now about tax. Because from 1992, Cyprus was primarily driven by tax initiatives, zero or low tax. So the various regimes that we had were giving a number of advantages, and we had seen many companies coming to Cyprus. But as the Minister said, that was the bottom-up approach. Now the tax environment, the global environment is changing, and the government needs to step in. Tax on its own is not enough to attract people in Cyprus. So now we have the top-up approach, what the Minister described earlier. So we see many incentives, technology improvements, initiatives by the government towards the new era. So this new combination will drive Cyprus, but tax will still remain the front runner for Cyprus because Cyprus has unique, distinct characteristics that will help all of us and all of the international investors to maintain their presence in Cyprus and even enhance it. Over the last 2 months, due to the war, we have all noticed that a number of 5,000 business people, employees in IT companies, in think tank companies have come to Cyprus. As EY, we have assisted in the range of 800 individuals relocating to Cyprus. All these fintech companies are bringing their people from the ex-CIS countries to Cyprus. So the top-up approach of the government is continuing, but the tax will remain there. Why? Because there are 10 specific characteristics, unique characteristics for Cyprus, which we have to observe and protect, because we'll need to differentiate from the others, not only in terms of good weather and good location, but we need to differentiate in important elements that matter at the profit of every enterprise or the salary of every individual. So, first of all, Cyprus has, we all know, I'm not going to make the technical tax analysis, I will just pinpoint the 10 key elements that we have to protect as Cyprus and will drive us for the next 10 years. So the rate, 12.5. Although we all listen that there are initiatives and there will be a 15% threshold for global minimum tax rate, that applies to multinationals with over 750 million turnover. So nothing stops Cyprus for maintaining the 12.5. I understand there are discussions between the government and the stakeholders, but keeping that low rate will not affect the majority of the business in Cyprus. We will, of course, have to increase the rate at 15% for those huge multinationals as per the global guidelines. So maintaining the rate is one big advantage. We have the national interest deduction regime. Also, it's a very attractive regime. Effectively, anybody who does business in Cyprus can inject the capital into his company, can get a 5% national interest without paying it. So your taxable income is reduced with 5% interest on your capital without being taxed. So effectively, we can see that financing companies are paying corporate tax in the range of 2.5%. That's a regime that is around in Europe for 2-3 years. It's approved by the EU Code of Conduct and exists in another 2-3 countries. We have the IP regime. Our IP regime is also aligned with the EU directives, also leads to 2.5% tax. Our IP regime is also very well connected with the nexus approach. It means that your income is taxed at 2.5 as long as you have functions, you have people in Cyprus. So if you just have a shell company doing IP business, you will not get the benefit of 2.5%. But if all your IP work is performed from Cyprus, then 100% of your business will be taxed at 2.5%. Another unique characteristic that helps Cyprus is Forex neutrality. We all know, and the majority of you are affected by Forex movements. These Forex are disregarded. These Forex movements are disregarded for tax purposes in Cyprus. So you don't have to pay tax on unrealized profits or even realized profits or unrealized losses or realized losses on Forex. So this neutrality gives a simplicity to the tax system and taxes real business profits. One of the biggest advantages that we always had and we are preserving is the exception in the gain of shares. So trading in shares, buying and selling shares in stock markets, listed or not, is exempted from taxation. That's the key milestone for a holding jurisdiction. That's also there in the intention of the government and all the stakeholders is to maintain it. Last but not least, as the presentation of the minister said, 66 tax treaties. It's very important to maintain and enhance this list. Currently, the ministry has opened discussions and negotiations with countries. More than 15 countries expected to be added in the next 2-3 years. So these corporate advantages, which exist for many years, we have to preserve them. And by preserving them, we will maintain the competitiveness in Cyprus. There is nothing illegal in what advantage we are offering. They are all approved by EU Code of Conduct, and we should keep them at any cost. Now, offering advantages to companies is not enough. We have to look at the individual. And a very correct and professional approach, I would say, from the government over the last 3 years are incentives given to individuals. Because the era of setting up shell companies without people in Cyprus has gone. So now people should come there and staff the companies. So the Cyprus government has introduced a legislation, the so-called non-dom regime. So people who are not born by a Cypriot father, they can redomicile in Cyprus, and their dividends will be fully exempt from tax. So ideally, we see today business people, entrepreneurs coming from third countries or EU countries, setting up business in Cyprus, getting possibly the beneficial tax rate of 2.5%, and then out of their profits, they don't pay dividend tax. So imagine a legitimate and an EU-approved country whereby you pay only 2.5% tax. All income disclosed, open books, 2.5% tax. I don't think you can find this anywhere in the world, and fully legitimate. Also, we have this non-dom regime applies to needs a residency in Cyprus only for 60 days. So it's very attractive. Just to spend 60 days in Cyprus and you can secure the non-residency provided you are not resident in another country. We have seen thousands of people benefiting of this regime, not only third country nationals, but as well EU people. Many people who are at the age of retirement, they are selling their stakes at various companies, CEOs, etc., and they are coming to Cyprus for the last year of their employment. Also, not only the government is looking to support the shareholders who collect dividend, but also the employees. So there is a legislation that any employment income above 100,000 is taxed with half the tax rate, the so-called 50% exception. So we want to attract the founders of the companies, the shareholders, but also the employees. So the highly paid skill power who comes to Cyprus is also getting a benefit. But these people, because they operate in a multinational environment, as we see, they have to be in Cyprus only for 60 days. So where are the other days? 1 month in US, 2 months in London, 2 months in Moscow, etc., and other European countries. So there is another one rule who helps these people travel around, and this income, this salaried income, employment income, earned from abroad is also exempt. So if you are abroad for more than 90 days, working in subsidiaries or associated companies of your multinational group, outside of Cyprus, 100% of this income is exempt. So the Cyprus legislation helps the shareholders, the employees, either working in Cyprus with the 50% or either for their employment abroad for the 90 days. So just to repeat myself, 10 key characteristics for companies and individuals which will help Cyprus to continue be at the center of the international business. Thank you very much.
Very good, thank you very much. What I would like to underline here, Mr. Raptopoulos, is that it is not obligatory to increase the corporate taxation to 15%, but it is good to repeat the number of income, which is 750 million.
Multinationals with turnover over 750 millions. I understand possibly in Cyprus today we have 15 or 20 such corporations, so the impact will not be...
So it's so immaterial, yes.
And we have to do it because if we don't do it in Cyprus, this differential will be taxed in the other jurisdictions. So it's a no-brainer for us to do it for these corporations. So we don't help ourselves. But
Totally agree.
But we should holistically see the whole picture for the other entities.
Very good, thank you very much. Now the next question goes to Natalie. Natalie, what if a holder of a digital nomad visa, after 2 years of living and working from Cyprus, he decides to offer his services to businesses in Cyprus? Would that be possible?
Unfortunately not, because though the option is given, the digital nomad visa is issued for 1 year, and there's the availability to renew it for another 2 years. So the total span of the visa as of today is a total of 3 years. During those 3 years, the limitation exists not to offer any services to Cypriot businesses, or not just in Cyprus generally. We need to keep it totally outside Cyprus.
Clear. Very good.
Thank you.
Now, Esme, are you ready for your question? What I would like to ask you is, from your experience, do British nationals choose Cyprus as the country of their retirement?
Actually, they do, and I would say that it forms a large part of our clientele, and not just because of the low taxation on the pensions. I think they find that Cyprus is a very easy place for them to live in, and they feel comfortable. They actually feel very at home.
Safe.
It's the language, it's the people, it's the safety.
The sun now and the
Yes,
blue flag
there
beaches
are lots
that
of reasons
the
why.
Swedish guys told me the other day.
Yes, so I think that despite the unfortunate circumstances and everything happening around the world, we still are seeing a huge amount of people coming to Cyprus to retire, which is it's actually a good thing for us, of course.
Very good, yes. And now our last question goes to Yorgos. Yorgos, I understand that a new policy has been introduced in relation to the registration of foreign companies, as well as the employment of third country nationals in Cyprus. What are the main and most important changes compared to the previous policy we had?
As I mentioned before, the new strategy has either introduced new policies or amended existing ones. So,
Which are preferential, as you mentioned, yes,
yeah,
the new ones.
Yeah. So, in terms of employment of third country nationals of a foreign company, everything has been simplified because before it was a bit more complex, especially in the categories of the employees, different salaries, limitation on the number of persons you could employ in these companies. And of course, one important change for the registration of foreign companies is the abolishment of the requirement to invest a capital of 200,000 euros in
Which
such
is a very
companies.
important criteria.
This criteria has only been limited to foreign companies which have a foreign participation of less than 50%. So everything is now more simple and easy, and we hope that this will attract even more companies in Cyprus.
Very good. So simpler policy, so we hope to have more businesses in Cyprus. That was all from us. Thank you very much.
Πολλά ακόμα αποσπάσματα από αυτό το επιχειρηματικό συνέδριο θα σας παρουσιάσουμε προσεχώς στην εκπομπή με το φακό του Hellenic TV.